Hey, what's up, guys? It's WiseGuyVito here, and today I want to do another tier list for you guys, and this one will be on boosters in Helldivers 2 across all factions. I kind of believe that boosters don't really need three separate videos of them, like in and of themselves, because, in my opinion, you can kind of run all of them and be perfectly fine. Now, there might be some ones that are more nicher than others with particular factions, but I'll kind of explain why, even with that particular niche, they're kind of still not great. But we'll kind of go over that here in this video. So as always, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get straight into the video. So before we start, let's kind of go over the tiers real quick. S tier is the meta picks. These are the ones that I would say, if you're wanting to have really good runs on level 10, these are the boosters that you should be running. Period. End of story. A tier is above average. You know, it's a fairly decent booster. There might be one glaring issue with it, or you might need another booster to kind of pair it up with it in order to make it really, really good. But for the most part, this is a fine booster to run on level 10s. B tier is, average. It's neither good nor bad, and we'll kind of go over why this one's kind of like average or meh. C tier is below average. Definitely would like to see some buffs here. There might be a little bit too niche in my opinion, and even then, they really suck at doing what they do with that particular niche. And then D tier is the dookie tier. This is the bad tier. This is the tier that, in my opinion, you should not be running this booster at all until they make some obvious reworks to it in the future. So, with that out of the way, let's get straight into it. So the first one we'll go over is the experimental Stims. These are the ones that give you extra speed, more healing even. You can kind of just like face tank healing with this thing, like brute force heal. So in my opinion, this is really good. And in my opinion, this is definitely a meta pick. In my opinion, this is definitely a really good booster. It's good across all factions. You just heal, and then you're basically invincible. Unless something hits you like a 380 or like a 500 or something like that, or something that just will guarantee just insta kill you. Then at that point, it may not be good. But those are kind of rare in my opinion. Very few and far between. But if you get swarmed by terminids, shut up by bots, or inked on by squids, at the very end of the day, you can sprint away from them, get a nice position, or you can just face tank, just heal tank away from the enemies, and you'll be perfectly fine, and you have extra speed on top of it. So that's why I'm putting it in S tier. This would be the booster that gives you reduced time. I believe it's like a 25%, a 30% decrease on extraction time. This is the expert extraction. In my opinion, this one's kind of average. In my opinion, it's just me. This is not an often pick of mine. Like personally, I feel like there are some better choices overall that help you throughout the mission rather than just at the very end of the mission. But it is nice seeing a timer go down from, let's say, 2 minutes to like a minute 30 and some change, give or take. So it is nice in that regard. But in my opinion, this is not really a pick for me, but, it's average. It's okay to bring. You can definitely bring on level 10s if you feel like that you're going to have trouble at the very end of the mission, because they did increase spawn patrols at the very end whenever you got extraction, so that's fine. But for the most part, I feel like this is pretty fine to use. I would not use this on defense missions where you're defending waves of enemies while rockets fly into the air, because there's no need of this at all, right? You want to mainly use this on blitz missions, on missions where you're going around with the ICBM, I think it is, like the rocket one or whatever, and where like you're running around the map, just like those type of missions that are more like 12 minutes to 40 plus minute missions. I would use that then, but in my opinion, it still kind of feels average, in my opinion. The fire hell bomb, basically whenever you land with a hell bomb, and either yourself or stuff that you throw in that requires it to be landed with a hell bomb. So this becomes like support weapons, supply packs, resupplies, your teammates, right? Whenever it lands, it basically bursts into a ball of fire. In my opinion, I feel like this one's not that great. It definitely needs to see a buff, in my opinion. I want this thing to explode. And what I mean by explode, a really big explosion that has a good area of effect. I want chaos with this one. If you're picking this one, you're picking chaos. And a lot of people tend to forget that folks have this. But in my opinion, it's supposed to be thrown at the enemy, and whenever it lands, it's supposed to, basically kill most of the enemies around there. Of course, like not necessarily like the bigger enemies or anything, but just like the little small stuff, or even kind of like the medium-sized stuff. I kind of expect this to do a lot more damage than what it's currently doing right now. So that's why I'm putting it in C tier. I would definitely like to see a buff in the future. Hellpod Optimization, basically whenever you land at the very beginning of a mission, or whenever you die and your teammates reinforce you, you get everything back. So you get your ammo and grenades back, and I believe your stims as well. In my opinion, this is definitely a meta pick. It's very nice to have this at level 10 difficulties, because like whenever you land, you're basically full up on ammo. Now ammo is still plentiful in level 10 difficulty still, but it is nice that whenever you land, you don't have to worry about not having enough grenades or not having any ammo in your primary or your secondary, or stims or anything like that. But you have everything that you need in order to complete the mission, and you can do it in one run and not have any trouble, or like one life and not really have any troubles. That's why I'm putting it in S tier. This is the increased reinforcement budget. So basically, whenever you get one reinforcement life for each Helldiver in your squad, so you can have up to 4 extra call-ins. So it goes from 20. So let's say if you're running with 4 people, 4 pals, and that's including yourself, you get 24 lives instead of 20, right? I feel like this is kind of average, in my opinion. It's definitely nice to have. If you expect your teammates not being that great, sure, like you might want to take it. But in my opinion, again, this is not really a passive that really helps you out. It just basically gives you more lives to throw. So that's why I'm putting it in B tier. It kind of feels average. The localization. This is okay. It's supposed to be a 10% decrease. Sorry, a 10% increase in cooldown between bug breaches, bot drops, and kind of like the squid beamers or whatever you want to call it, or like the squid drops or whatever. In my opinion, it's not really great. I kind of wish that they would actually increase the time, I guess, or completely just rework this. So I'm kind of want to put it in D tier, not gonna lie. It just, at first, whenever it first came out, people thought this was gonna be very, very good because it gives you kind of like breathing room. In my opinion, I can't really feel a difference with this thing. I don't know if it's broken or not, but the times that I have used it here lately, or I've seen people use it here lately, I really don't feel a difference at all. So I want to put it in D tier. I think they should completely rework this one now, because at level 10, the amount of enemies that are constantly being thrown at you, I really don't think that you need this. I don't think it gives you that much of a breathing room, in my opinion, because what gives you breathing room in this game is not necessarily like the time, but just positioning, So that's why I'm putting it in D tier right now. Kind of wish it was better. If it gave you like more time, I probably would put it in B, in my opinion. But that's simply because I like having enemies thrown at me, in my opinion. But I'm gonna put it in D tier. This is I think like the Motivational Shocks. Basically, it negates acid. It's very particular. Basically, you would use this only on Terminids against Hunters and Bile Titans, right? In my opinion, it's not strong enough. to warrant its niche, right? And with its niche, I just don't think it's strong enough. I wish there was something else with it other than just, well, you can just run through acid and not have any problems. In my opinion, I do think it kind of needs a rework, but it needs stuff added to it. So I would say that it's not completely worthless, because it is nice to have whenever a Bile Titan throws up on you or spews at you, or a hunter hits you, right? So you can get away faster. I think it's fine then. But like I said, I'd rather have something else as a passive than this as a passive, because it requires you to get damaged. And even then, whenever you get damaged, it doesn't really help you all that much. So that's why I'm putting it in C tier. The muscle enhancement one, this was like rough terrains or whatever. I kind of feel like this is not particularly good or bad. I'd rather, like I said, run another passive. So basically, any sand planet or snow planet, you can kind of just run through it and not have any trouble whatsoever, and you don't lose that much stamina, which I think is fine. But other than that, meh. It's kind of just a meh booster in my opinion. So I want to put it in B tier. The stamina one, or the stamina booster, basically you deplete stamina slower and you gain it back faster. In my opinion, this is a super S tier one. In my opinion, this is definitely like a meta choice. And all the difficulties, enough said. You get more run. Like, you can sprint more often and sprint longer. So that's why I'm putting it in S tier. This is like the Recon one, where you basically can see enemies farther on like your little mini map. I think this is kind of just average. If you're trying to build into like a stealth diver, then it might be good, because you can run this with the stealth armor, and you can get like a really big radius and kind of see where patrols are coming from and kind of like maneuver around them and stuff like that. Even then, it's not really too great. So in my opinion, it's kind of just meh. Again, kind of like a boring pick. The Vitality booster, I do think it's S tier right now, especially right now in Helldivers. Seeing how the current meta is going up with with limb damage, I think this is really good. You don't get total negation from limb injuries; you just get a negation, and this is really good to run with certain weapons in the game that damage you. So that would be like the double-edged sickle, and it also does good with Dead Sprint, which, by the way, Dead Sprint I do think is an A tier one. I think it's on the lower end of A, middle of A-ish. I think it does actually pretty good with Vitality booster. By itself, you can kind of feel the pain of it, but with the Vitality booster, you can sprint for a long time, a very, very long time, until you die. But even without the Vitality booster, I still think it's good. I don't mind it, in my opinion. But I don't think it's like an S tier pick, because again, in this game, you're kind of really squishy right now. Ever since they did kind of like the rework to Helldivers health and how much damage enemies do to you, you're kind of like really, really squishy. So if anything were to, by happen chance, just simply just breathe on you while you're sprinting away, you could very well die from it. But my experience with it is that it is really, really good right now. But you kind of have to pair it with the Vitality, so it's kind of like, like it needs kind of like a crutch to it. The armed Hellpod Sentry thing, I really do think it's actually pretty good. If you want to run, full Sentry build with this, I think it's actually kind of fun to use. It's kind of like having like a machine gun Sentry to some degree. I believe it medium armor pins as well, so it has some utility in that. But it's just like an extra sentry that you can have as a resupply. So it's very good. Just be careful though, because it can kill you and your teammates. And this is the booster where if you're completely depleted, this is the flexible reinforcement budget. There we go. Reduces new reinforcement timer after depletion by 25%. In my opinion, again, it kind of feels average, in my opinion. This is whenever you are, like all your reinforcements go to 0. The timer then starts until you get like another one, like another throw-in, right? It basically like decreases that timer by 25%. It's fine. It's okay. It's not either good nor bad, in my opinion. You know, at the levels that I run at level 10, you should not be having this issue of depleting or like being at 0 lives. Basically, you should be, you know, living out and having plenty of reinforcement budget to do a run at level 10. So again, like this one kind of requires you to, or for like all your teammates to basically suck, basically, and to basically, you know, live off of the timer. But other than that, you know, it's nice to have, you know, if you think that your teammates are going to be, you know, quite bad, then I think that it might be worth it then. But again, I'd rather have these perks right here, right? Like something that kind of gives me like a nice passive individually. This not so much, but you know, dead sprint and the experimental stim, Hellpod Optimization, the stamina and the vitality as well. I'd rather have those things because those things give me survivability rather than like, okay, well, my survivability's failed. Now I have to wait on a timer to kind of like, you know, throw me in or more lives or something like that. I don't expect me to die at level 10, really. So I'd rather have, you know, like stuff that, you know, keeps me armed and keeps me alive, right? So this is my booster tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know where I'm right, where I'm wrong. I would love to see you guys' opinions on these boosters and where they can kind of take, you know, these boosters as far as buffs or nerfs even. In my opinion, I don't think any of these really need nerfs. But as far as buffs go, I do think there are plenty of these boosters that could need a rework or buffs. But I like to think, or like I like to know what you guys think down in the comment section. So leave a comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.